Welcome to the second episode of the Motivate Supplier Showcase. I'm Neil Smith, CEO of Motivate Automotive Consultancy, and in this series, I'm sitting down with the innovators behind the UK's most exciting automotive businesses, whether they're game-changing startups, industry disruptors, or established legends. We'll be diving into the latest digital and physical products currently shaking up the UK vehicle retail space. If it's making waves, we'll be covering it. My guest this week is Charisse Smith, CEO and founder of CMe Automotive, a full-service digital and media agency specialising in the UK automotive sector. How are you, Charisse?
I'm great, thank you, Neil, and thank you for inviting me onto your podcast.
Not a problem at all. Now, Charisse, you were a supplier to me whilst I was at Imperial Cars, and I've worked with you over the past few years, so I know you pretty well. To enable our viewers to get to know you a little better, a regular feature of this podcast series is the guest icebreaker. So please, tell us 3 interesting facts about yourself, 2 of which are true and 1 that isn't. We'll then let the viewers ponder this during the podcast, and I'll ask you to reveal all at the end of the podcast.
Oh, crikey. Here we go. So, I am a scuba diver. I am a rollerblader. And I once dated a Premiership footballer from London.
Okay, well, let's hope you don't rollerblade and scuba dive at the same time, but we'll find that out at the end. Okay, let's learn a little more about Charisse Smith. Tell me about you, your background, and how you ended up where you are today.
Gosh, this could be a long story. How long have we got, Neil?
We've got 20 minutes. Just go for it.
But you know what? I think positively on the challenging path that I chose. I know we've known each other a long time, so you're sort of aware of a lot of my sort of history and how I got here. But, you know, I honestly try to reflect on whether it's mistakes or whether it's just learnings. And I do believe that that's how we end up in the place that we are now. So I think that's been actually contribution to the things that I've achieved. So coming from adversity, you know, I had a kid when I was still a kid, right? So it was difficult. I lived in a hostel. It's pretty awful. I learned pretty quickly about life, and I learned that I didn't really like having nothing. I didn't like getting on buses. I knew I needed a car. I knew I needed money to get a car. So, you know, I started working at the age of sort of 17 with a child in tow. Did 4 weeks in teleservice, didn't last very long. And then I went into recruitment, which I actually really, really enjoyed and always had a bit of a soft spot for recruitment, actually. Then I went into a publishing company where I started to sell magazine advertising. I did 5 years there, had a great time. And, you know, by my own admission, I think I did well. I think I did well there. But, you know, I wanted to come back down to the South Coast. I was working on the outskirts of London, loved the South Coast. And when I was commuting to and from, I heard an advert on the radio for a account manager for a radio station called Wave 105. I had no idea what that would really entail. That wasn't the type of job that I'd been doing. I knew that I would be a wild card. I was still in my early 20s, very early 20s. I was 21. And I think of probably even the youngest account manager that they've had. And I had to do a presentation. I that was a trauma in itself, actually. But I did a presentation, which is, I feel like it was a bit of a sixth sense, actually. It was on automotive dealers. I'd never worked in automotive before, but I did this presentation on automotive dealers and found out in that presentation that the job that was available was for an automotive specialist account manager. So I definitely think there was something in that. So I was really, really pleased to take up my new role and start to get to know, you know, the dealers around the South Coast. I think there was quite a large percentage of the retailers that were on the South Coast were my clients at some point. And I got to learn a lot about the industry, the number of sales events, campaigns that were focused around model launches and, recruitment and all the various other things that you need to be able to do as a dealer to promote what you're trying to achieve. Now, I even at one point had a game, Neil, and we've not played this actually. I think I'm still unbeaten, but it's going through the alphabet with models. But it's my game, so it's my rules, right? So I don't really.
I haven't got a chance of winning then, have I?
No, honestly, as long as it's cars post 2001. So
okay,
and it has to be models, so it's not manufacturers. But I quite enjoy playing that game with people just because I know I normally win. But yeah, 7 years of being an automotive specialist account manager on the South Coast, and I decided that after that period, I think we were just gone through recession, not long after recession. That was tough, really tough for everyone. I had real challenges during the recession personally, but I got to a point in my life where I just wanted to work on I don't know whether a deep level with dealers and find out more about how I could help them. But really, that's when I sort of had this burning desire to set up a marketing agency, which was, can you believe it, nearly 11 years ago now, Neil.
Yeah. Well, I remember you used to come into us in the early days at Imperial when you were with the radio business, and we would set you challenges as well.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
And we would set you a challenge to go around all the part exchanges and see if the radio station you were representing was on any of their radios. And if it wasn't, we didn't place any work with you. So it was a tough old school back in those days. A school of hard knocks, wasn't it? But I mean, that was back probably early 2010s, wasn't it? I think when we started to work together.
Yeah, it was. And things like that give you really good learnings and what dealers want. I used to really listen to the dealers, and I think where it all started with starting the agency, I had 2 AM100 retailers that were on expansion plans as well, and who had multiple franchises. So talk about going in at the deep end. I was. Yeah. Or within months, I was trading across so many different regions, and initially supporting them with media buying because that's what I knew very, very well. But quickly sort of working with them on their digital channels and enhancing their brands. It was really, really interesting to have that extended kind of vision, if you like, with those retailers. And I thank those retailers today who are still clients that I work with for, giving CMe the opportunity to work with them.
Yeah. So look, clearly there was a mission there when you started your own agency, and look, all power to you for taking that risk at that time. And
but Neil, it was not easy. I can tell you that now. To trade that level of, that level of revenue. Remember, I'd never ever run a business in my life. So massive learning curves like cash flow. I had no credit facilities for a start. That was very difficult. I guess to a small dealer that's starting out, it's a bit like them not having a funding, a stocking loan, for example. Yeah. It was really tough. I employed my mum as my FD, and she's still with me today. She stuck it out with me. But, I really needed help. I was actually a single mum at the time when I started the agency. So that sort of added additional pressures. And I think, as you know, Neil, my eldest son now works in the business as a sales manager. So he's actually working with dealers as well, which is really nice because I feel like he's been on the journey with me.
Well, it's great because you've still got family involved, and obviously Jack, your son, he was involved in the motor trade, so he had good experience within motor trade, within sales. So that's coming through now into the agency. And I suppose looking back, you're 11 years in now almost with CMe Media. But what was the sort of deciding factor in starting up the creation of CMe Automotive over 2 years ago? Why did you look to sort of segment that and take that to the next level?
Do you know what? It was when sort of our worlds, and I talk about everyone's world, were rocked in COVID. And I hate to use that word now because I feel like we've surpassed it so long ago, But, I lost a huge amount of revenue. I had hundreds of billboards about to go live across the country. And remember, although a huge percentage of my business, roughly about just over 50% of my business was automotive, and the other percentage, I had a lot of property, a lot of education and other retailers as well that we supported. But, I knew that when we were coming through that COVID period, that I had some of my long-standing clients in automotive had furloughed their marketing teams. So I felt like I had to stand in. And I remember, it sounds crazy, but I remember actually going into social accounts and, just keeping them up to date and, making sure that my clients still looked like they had a presence online. Yeah. And that just really, really developed over that next 2 years. And, I think they used the term pivoted. I didn't even know what that means. Remember, I left school at 15. So I do know it's a very valuable term though. And it's a really, really valuable skill. So yeah, we pivoted and we managed to take stock and think about, okay, what is our next move? We still have a thriving, non-automotive business. And we now have, CMe Automotive, which looks after specifically automotive retailers, actually not just retailers within the sector. There are some other businesses. We look after some, B2B businesses in the sector as well with various different services. But our services have expanded continuously over time because when we work with a dealer and we find out what the dealer's problems are, 9 times out of 10, Neil, we'll find that a dealer might be great at one channel, or they might be, they're often missing some touch points. Yeah. And it's about just making sure that dealer is as visible as they possibly can be within the constraints of their budget and their territories in some circumstances, and I think that gives me a huge amount of, huge amount of gratitude for what we do, and also helped me reflect on, the learnings that we've learned over the last few years. I did a huge amount of courses and I never stopped learning, never stopped learning. I consider myself in the agency pretty much an expert, and I can implement as well. So I'm, I can do PPC, I can do SEO, I can run socials. I can do pretty much everything apart from design, which one day may appear on that list. But I think everyone's trying to keep me away from that. My styling's not the best.
So look, clearly you've got that skill set. It would be good to understand some of the standout products or services that you're able to offer now, and then just understand how those offerings may be addressing some of the current challenges in the industry and how that will deliver value to dealers across the UK, really.
So we always want to be ahead. So things like, Google vehicle ads, we had the beta on that. I will always be honest as well. And, when Google vehicle ads came out, I was, as somebody who understands PPC, I can do PPC myself. So I was straight into the platform, getting a real understanding of it, because there are some challenges with that. It's not the same feed that you would, pull from a web provider. It does need it does need a specialist built feed. It wasn't in the form that I expected it to be. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that I expected to be able to be more in control of the feed. I did actually, I was really pleased actually to have a chat with Google quite early on, just to understand where they're going with the product. I think we've taken a lot of learnings from this particular platform as well. We're able to get dealers on as efficiently as possible. We can liaise, and we know what we're asking for as well, and we know what the challenges that may come at us with regards to setup. So I think it's definitely worthwhile doing. We've got a lot of dealers on Google Vehicle Ads now. They've just released, obviously, the campers and RVs recently.
Right.
There's obviously commercial vehicles on there as well now. So that's a platform
are you seeing good results with GVA?
Oh yeah, it's really interesting actually, because we had a retailer that came on board with us with the beta, but they do actually have their own in-house team. And sometimes, you have to respect that some groups, some businesses are of a size where they do have internal teams and they may want to operate it internally. So when the beta sort of had passed, they wanted to try and handle it internally, but they were still connected to our merchant center. So it's always about getting the best for a client, but we did identify that if a feed is unmanaged, you can be blowing those budgets quite quickly. And you do have to identify, you have to watch that feed, because there are, you'll all know, you can have that one car that, gets a huge amount of views, but it's got something that's just ugly about it. And nobody wants it. So, you've got to make decisions about what you put in that feed. So we're really honest with clients, Neil, about expectations and what sort of coverage you can expect. And we're happy to share that to people, client or not client. We're happy to just have an open, honest discussion.
Yeah, and look, that's GVA. Clearly, that's one of the large sort of channels that's come to bear in the last 6 months, probably. And people, I know dealers that are still trying to understand it, get to grips with it. So it's still got a long way to go. But what other elements can you support dealers with? What other channels can you support dealers with?
So content's a massive thing for us. I think we understand the value of content. I'm not so sure when we speak with dealers, all shapes and sizes. This isn't down to an isolated size dealer. They appreciate the level of value on content and keywords. You only have to look at the marketplaces, for example, Neil, right? If you look at, the car wow, even Auto Traders like Auto Trader, Car Wow, all of the marketplaces, we're all fighting for keywords. If you look at their level of keyword and their investment in SEO, which is content development, right? It's got value. It has got value. They're trying to fight for that number one spot of ranking organically. And we've done some really great strategies for clients from an organic perspective. And, we took one dealer from, they bought a shell of a website and it's like 400 odd keywords. It was so small, the level of content on that site. It was effectively a shell with a stock feed. But we grew them over 2 years to 50,000 keywords. That's a carefully created strategy that is for that dealer based on what their targets are. And it's nice. I like working to KPIs. We set that target out. We sat there in that meeting. It was like, right, who are we chasing? Where are we trying to get to? So it's I love working with dealers on their strategies, their content development strategies. But that's just like a number of channels we can support them with. Obviously, PPC, retargeting. We're heavily into data. We use data a lot throughout all of our businesses. So we're implementing data to prevent wastage, but also manipulating that data to be able to grow new audiences. So I don't see that changing at all. I think if we get more opportunities where we can use data, we'll be there. So we want to advance in those spaces, if you like. But we can also help dealers with just getting their best practices right, making sure everything's, dot the I's, cross the T's online, so they look professional. Because I think sometimes what dealers, businesses, any business may forget is that sometimes people may be looking at one of your touch points, one of your channels for reassurance. It just may be the environment that they happen to exist in, or they spend time in. So it is about making sure that when you exist on these platforms, that what the audience is, your potential customers are going to see is what you want them to see. You want them to know that you're trusted. You want them to know that you're active. So again, like I said, these are best practices. We're looking at things like reviews. We do review management for dealers as well. We know it takes time. So there's not a lot that we don't offer as a full service marketing agency.
Yeah. And look, I think, my experience working with CMe and the team there over the past few years, along with recommending them to numerous dealers for marketing support, it's reinforcing the significant value an external marketing agency like CMe can provide. So for me, dealers of all sizes can benefit. It's not one size fits all. And you do offer, you offer a pick and mix, really, depending on the challenges that dealers of all sizes are currently having to address, I suppose, across all of those marketing and sales channels.
100%, Neil. And, our trust and transparency, our reputation is really important to us. But I think I had a really old strapline in the business. I think it was probably year one. It was a strapline that was a save time, save money. And that still is a really valid line for these dealers. They need to be, concentrating on pricing their cars, or actually getting stock, pricing their cars and selling cars. Actually trying to navigate the world of marketing, which is continuously evolving, is really difficult. And, I'm happy to offer free advice for an independent, unbiased advice as well, with, the amount of people that ask, for example, on groups, which website shall I go to? Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's not an easy answer to that. You may know somebody else that's gone to a website, but they may have different objectives. They may have, different levels of resource. And we're here to really help them to say, well, okay, well, what are you looking to achieve? And actually, what resource do you have in-house? And how can you manage that? So once you know those pieces of information, you can help make an informed decision or recommendation, really, for that dealer.
Charisse, we've come to the end of our time, nearly.
Oh, no.
It's been lovely chatting. And look, thank you for taking the time to talk us through the expansive range of marketing and support services that CMe Automotive is able to provide. Services that undoubtedly increase awareness and engagement for dealers and ultimately deliver an uplift in leads and sales volumes. But before I let you go, we need to clear up the icebreaker question for our viewers. Which of the three interesting facts was in fact false?
Oh, I have never dated a footballer from London.
You are a rollerblader and you do scuba dive.
I absolutely am.
Excellent. Love that.
Thank you very much, Neil.
Well, thanks again, Charisse. For more information about CMe Automotive, visit the website, www.cmeautomotive.com, or message Charisse on LinkedIn. It just remains for me to thank everyone for watching, and a quick reminder that here at Motivate, we offer 1 hour remote one-to-one dealer discovery sessions for free. To learn more about these sessions and why you should book one, visit our website, www.motivate.co.uk. Goodbye for now.